What we did so far is simple and it works. However, let's think about components' responsibilities for a little bit. Our code makes the article list component smarter than it should be. For example, the article list component knows that we have an authors list. It should not. It also knows that every article object has an author ID, and that information does not really belong there. This is not about readability, it's about dependency. The way we have our code now, we depend on what this article component does with that information, and that can be avoided. The rule of thumb here is simple. Try to make the children component less smarts and more of presentational components, and try to have the top level container component, like app in our case, control the logic of things like how to look up an author. An author is a property of an article. So the only component that should deal with this author property is the article component. We violated that rule when we used the author ID attribute inside the article list component. Now, take a moment and think about what can we do to improve this code into a better separation of responsibilities. Looking up one author information is an action related to a single article. So it makes sense to have the article component do that because it is the one who knows its author ID value. However, the app component is the one that has information about all the authors. So it is the one that can actually carry the operation of looking up an author. This is where we introduce a bridge. We write a function in the app component and we let the article component invoke that function. So we have an action. Let's name it lookup author. We need to define this action in the app component and invoke it inside the article component. In the future, we might have more actions, like for example, update rating on an article. So let's introduce an object here in the app component to hold all of the actions. We'll call it article actions. So this is an object, and inside that object we'll define lookup author. This lookup author is a function that is going to receive the author ID, and it will simply do this .state.authors, so normal lookup for that author ID. Very simple function. Now we need to make this article actions object available inside the article component. So we'll need to pass it down the tree. We don't need to pass the authors list anymore. So instead we pass article actions, which is an object on the instance of this app component. And we'll need to do the same here in article list. No more passing down the author object. Instead, we'll pass actions equal props.article actions. So in the context of a single article component, the property can be just actions. Now, this is slightly better for dependency because this article list component does not really know or care about what's in the article actions object. It just relays that to its child, the article component. If, for example, we need to change the logic of article actions, we don't need to change the article list component anymore, which is a win. Inside the article component, instead of reading the author object from the props here, we now have actions. And we can look up the author of this article from the actions. So actions.lookup author using article.author ID. And the UI will behave exactly the same, but the component's responsibilities now are a little bit better.